Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options to Play video update. So, I want to say thank you for those of you that stuck around for last night's option session. Just great hour-long discussion of everything trading, markets, options. We went over historical volatility versus implied volatility last night. A lot of trade ideas. So, I always appreciate when you guys stick around, all the great input, all the great conversation. If you weren't able to make it, please check out uh, the recorded video. It's up there. You can go back and look, kind of just go over what we covered last night. Kind of quickly, I mean, I'm not going to get into too much detail here, but a lot of what we talked about last night revolves around scenarios or setups that you'll see in a trending tape. Okay, and I apologize last night because I must have said trending 100 times, and honestly, it's one of those key things to really drive home, right? When the market's in like a really consistent trend, a low volatility, lower volume environment, you have to really look at trades that are more tailored to that, right? So when you're in like a very volatile environment, a very volatile tape, when you're seeing maybe like 2%, 3% up days, down days, right? Then I like to say it's like kind of like the 2 by 2. So that's like you have visibility for like 2 day trades and then maybe like 2 months. So it's very, very, very short term and very, well, not very long term, but like longer term, right? In a trending tape, it's a little bit different. It's more like the 2 to 3 week time frame. That's really what works great, because trades can take a little bit longer to develop because you don't have that significant volatility on a day-to-day basis, significant volume. But then when they do work, they tend to be clean, and they tend to be pretty consistent, I feel like. So I really like the 2 week time frame in a trending tape. So again, stuff that we kind of like talked about last night. I mean, I've talked about this in videos before, but again, like 2 week time frame for like trending tapes. Okay. Now, what's really been working great, and again, something we talked about a little bit more at length last night, was just bullish breakouts through like 1 to 2 month resistance or 1 to 2 month moving average resistance, more specifically. Okay, and it might seem like it's just kind of like rinse and repeat. But if that's what's working, then that's what we're going to be focused on, right? I mean, try not to overanalyze it too much. If that's what's working, then that's what we're going to be screening for. That's what we're going to be constantly on the lookout for, right? So just a couple. I'll just go over a couple of recent examples to show you what I mean. Like Okta, right? Just software stock, kind of like an explosive, high growth software stock, right? Had like kind of a nice move, a little bit of like a wedge formed, right? And then you had a really clean area of resistance at the 50-day, right? So it failed there in October, failed there again later in October and in the beginning of November, and then when it started to break through it, right? Started to break through it, just ended up being like a very clean breakout with a clear target up at the 100 days. So you had the 100-day, which lined up almost perfectly with the October high. So when it got through the 50-day, it was basically like a 10-point target from like the 110 area up to like the 120 area, right? So when I say like 2 weeks, right? I mean, like this played out in about maybe say like 6 sessions, right? So again, like that 2 week time frame, and really like when I say 2 weeks, like I mean like I want to like scale back risk within that 2 weeks. So sometimes like 2 week trade will turn into like a month trade if I things maybe if it's a little bit slower and it's not going as fast as I wanted, or maybe I want to stick with the idea because it's working so great. So then like I can turn it into like a longer term swing potentially, right? But really like the idea is to like cut risk in some shape or form within like that 2 weeks, because like that to me is like the sweet spot. And if the trade isn't working, or maybe if the trade has worked great, that's typically around the point where I think like in this type of tape, it's really where you want to start like scaling back, maybe locking in money, taking off risk, so on and so forth. Okay, but it's bullish breakouts through like 1 to 2 month resistance, right? Especially moving averages, like these lower moving averages have really led to some like clean moves, right? So one I just wrote up last night, which really just kind of starting to enter that territory, is Lyft, right? So very similar setup, And again, you know, I mean, I know a lot of these are pretty similar patterns, but this is what's been working. So, you know, if it's a clean setup, you got a trigger, right? Broke through like the 50-day, which had been pretty significant area of resistance. October, most of this month, right? Broke through it, decent volume yesterday, hanging above it today. So it's one of those trades where it's starting to clear lower resistance, right? It's got a really well-defined open area on the chart to run, so up near 50, that's where the 100-day is, right? Now, for like a downside target, you can or a downside stop, you can basically say that if it breaks either below the 50-day or maybe below like trend support, right? So maybe in like the low 40s, then it'd be a failed breakout, and you don't want to be involved with it, right? But again, like 2 weeks, that's kind of the sweet spot. That's where either, you know, like if the trade's not working, then you really want to maybe um, go back and reevaluate whether the thesis still stands, or if it is working, that's kind of like the time frame where I want to be like scaling back risk, whether it's, you know, taking the whole thing off or maybe like taking a portion off and rolling up, right? So again, like 2 weeks for like these bullish breakouts. You got plenty of these setups where stocks are still kind of, some of these names are still really beaten up, kind of pushing into moving average resistance. Then you're looking for the breakouts, 2 week time frame, either scale back risk or reevaluate the trade. All right. Um, so again, this is something we went into a little bit more in depth last night. In addition, we spent a lot of time actually going over kind of like the state of the market, just because it's really it's good in my opinion to kind of get like that like feel for like what's going on, why it's going on, like, you know, because like the overall like markets, like the SPY, the Q, the Dow, like the Russell, right? Regardless of whether you trade those on a day-to-day basis or not, I mean, it's important, in my opinion, to really have kind of like a feel for what's going on, because it can dictate action in like individual stocks. Okay, so we spent a lot of time going over that, and like, you know, if you missed it and you want to check it out, take a look. It's up there on YouTube. So options in play. It's last night's option coaching session, right? So if you like these videos and you're looking for more information on options trading, maybe trade ideas, follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options in play. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.